Oh, of course, of course. And so we had one of our direct team members go to fence installation school, and what I had guessed would happen, it happened in that. So he got a tremendous amount of value from fence installation school, but he got an additional additional nuggets, additional value out of just the evening spent with these team members as well, because they're all same hotel, they're all eating meals together, they're all building a team, right? They're all in
Absolutely.
separate teams, and these teams are really bonding with each other. He was like, you wouldn't imagine. He goes, these guys were talking to me, showing me like pictures of their tools, and they're kind of like our tools, but we could probably make ours a little bit better by doing this and that. And that was outside of the school day, right? That was
Absolutely.
just, them hanging out at the hotel being like, wait a minute, you said you use this thing. How does that work? Oh, yeah, let me show you a picture.
Yep.
Just such a tremendous amount of value that those guys got just from the camaraderie they're in the groups.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, we like to have all the schools together. I think it's extremely important for us to have all the schools together, because what then happens, the guys in the gate operator school see what the guys in the fence school are doing, and they're like, man, either I want to come do that next year so I can learn those things, or there's this guy on my team that I think would get benefit from that. And so the
Bingo.
next year they send somebody to another school, or the fence contractor business school guys are now talking to the guys from the fence school or the gate operator school, and they're picking up those nuggets. When you're out there just digging posts or digging holes and setting posts every day, you don't always think about the next level and what's going on in the office and the backside of it. And so all of a sudden, when you're sitting there talking to a regional manager or a branch manager or an owner or something, and they're like, well,
Yeah.
here's some of the things that we think about and how that affects things. And all of a sudden, everybody starts to understand that it's so much bigger picture than just the post hole that you're digging. And that's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. I mean, like you said, the camaraderie and the team building, it's not just among your team and among your school, it's among all the schools, and it's building that fence family.
Yeah, absolutely. And introducing them to the extended family, right? So that's kind of what it feels like to me is, I mean, we're in the holiday season, or we're almost in the holiday season. And it's like, I mean, you see your close family, week to week, month to month, whatever. But then the holidays come around, and then now you're meeting second cousins that maybe you've never met, or you're meeting an uncle that lives on the other side of the world, whatever it is. It kind of felt like that is like, hey, I know a few people here, but let me now meet some people that they know, like second, third tier relationships that now I can become on a first name basis with.
Absolutely. And then, when you get more involved and you start coming to more things, now you see them at Fence Tech, and it's like, oh man, hey,
Right.
how you doing? And then,
Yeah.
you see them at a chapter event, or you go to one of the other chapters, the clay shoots or the golf outings or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And all of a sudden you start seeing these people and you build relationships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're building a network of just a support system too, right?
Yeah.
Is I was talking, so Caven's our guy here in house. I was talking to him last week, and I was like, hey, how's that? Are you still keeping up? He's like, oh yeah, no. He goes, I had a question about, he was doing a repair. He's like, I remember I talked to someone else about this. And so I had messaged them real quick and shot him a picture, and they kind of walked me through how they would do it. Like, that is incredible. That
Yeah.
is incredible that now he has that support system of, hey, I know I can reach out to this person at any, on a moment's notice and get some help if they're available. Not only
Absolutely.
armed with basic information, and not basic, but foundational information, foundational training, but also to have that support system that just kind of comes built into the system itself.
Yeah. And it's not the guy down the road, it's somebody
Right.
from anywhere across the country. So you feel, people feel real safe calling and talking to them and saying, hey, I'm thinking about bidding this project, but I've never done it. But I
Yeah.
remember when we talked, you had done this before. And so whether it's, sound walls on the highway, or whether it's,
Yeah.
deer fence along the highway, or whether it's cable
Mhm.
system, whatever it is, there's a good chance that you've talked to somebody. And
Sure.
so you have that ability to call them up and say, man, look, I remember in the gate school, you work on a lot of, XYZ gate operator. And I just got a
Mhm.
call for one, and it's doing this, what might it be? And man, it's absolutely invaluable having that network and being able to make those calls.
Absolutely agreed. So last week we spent some time talking to Tony about fence installation school specifically.
Mhm.
I'd like to talk to you for a little bit, Nick, about fence contractor business school as well as sales training school,
Mhm.
just to get maybe a little bit go deeper into each one of those. So Fence Contractor Business School, that was a week-long course, right? Or
Yes.
4 days and then a massive test.
Well, it's 4.5 days and then a massive
Okay.
test. Yeah. So they
Okay.
actually take 6 tests on Friday afternoon. And it's actually good that it's broken down this way. So it's 6 50-question tests. And the good thing is you're not sitting for 300 questions. And if you don't pass, you have to take all 300 again. So if you
Sure.
pass, 4 out of 6, then you only have to take the 2 that you didn't pass. So it's broken down really, really well. But it covers a little bit of everything. We go through ASTM and UL, OSHA, HR, sales and marketing, estimating and bidding. We go through legal and contracts. I mean, we go through a ton of stuff in that school. And the basic gist of that was we've got a whole lot of people that are fantastic at building fence, but maybe they had never run a business or they had never thought about contracts. That was one of the big topics of conversation in the school was, when they start going through the contracts and the legalities of what's required and what you should have, the CYA.
Right.
And,
Right.
there were some people that were like, oh, I thought I had a good contract, but now I see there's things I need to fix or change, so
Yeah.
it's pretty eye-opening. And it's the same deal when you get in a room with like-minded people that are interested in what's going on, man, the conversations are just fantastic.
Well, in one module I sat in on, I guess, or I sat through a little bit of it, was they're just all about insurance.
Yep.
And because it's like everyone says, well, you need to have insurance. Usually they're talking about workman's comp and liability, but it's like there's so much more depth to just that conversation of, well, you probably should also have an umbrella. You probably should also have an inland marine. You should probably also have these. It's like, okay, I should have them. Why? Well, they talked about that. What should it look like? And I thought it was really interesting that it wasn't just an overview of this is what you should do, but it was also, you could tell the instructors are trying to get that knowledge passed to them on why it's important and what you look for and how you look for it and who to reach out to. Like, when you reach out to an insurance agent or broker or whomever, these are the conversations you should have. These are probably some answers they should give you. And if not, like, you might check around.
Yeah. You might be talking to the wrong person.
Right. Well, and I think that's so, Nick, your point is absolutely spot on. I think it's so important because guys that are just great at building, and gals, folks that are great at building fence, it's a different muscle group to run a business.
Absolutely.
Right. So in the gym, I mean, you could crush leg day. You could be a leg day champion. But then if you get to arm day, you're like, well, I don't know. I've seen people do it and it doesn't look that hard. But when you get into it, you're like, oh, this is completely different. We're in the same industry. We're in the same gym, but these two movements are much different. It's a lot like that. You get into business, it's like, okay, well, I need sales so I can stay busy. All right, so let's start figuring out how to make sales. And then, I should probably have a contract. Unfortunately, that's some of the conversations you see in the Facebook groups is just all about contracts. Hey, what do you do when your customer doesn't pay you? Well, you do exactly what your contract says you're going to do. What does your contract say you're going to do? Or what happens if I hit an unmarked utility, a sprinkler line? Or what happens if insert problem? It's like, well, that should all be in a contract. But you guys go deep into or go past that conversation of you should have this and go into here's what you should have and here's why. I think the understanding the why is important so that these folks can go back into their businesses and know how to tweak this advice and plug it into their unique situation.
Yeah. Well, the gym analogy is a great analogy because you can be lifting weights. Let's say you're doing arm curls. But when somebody that actually knows what they're doing comes in and says, well, wait a second, your form is off. If you change just a little bit here, you're going to get better results. That's exactly what this is. You may have a contract, but it might be missing a couple key phrases or a couple key terms or something like that. So if you just tweak your contract a little bit, now all of a sudden you're getting better results. Or you may have insurance, but like you said, do you have the umbrella coverage? Do you have the inland marine? Do you have, those extra things that when that situation comes up, make sure you're covered. And here's why you need it. It's the practical, application of the knowledge. And absolutely, it goes above and beyond.
Yeah, it's the, if we're thinking 101 is basic foundation, it's like the 201, 301 level of business, right?
Yep.
Of, hey, here's the advanced training you need to run a business and to have this foundational knowledge about running the business.
Sure. Well, people ask about our schools and they're like, I can't come to the school, but I still want to get the certification, blah, blah, blah. Well, all of our certifications are set up as self-study. The test is based off the book. Fantastic. So why should you come to the course? Because you get that extra knowledge. All of our courses, yes, they go over the majority of the key terms and the key things that are in the book and things like that, but they're not preparing you for the test. They are to go above and beyond and give you that practical knowledge and that real world in life work knowledge that you can't get from a book. The conversations that you have with the other people in the school, the conversations, the stories that the instructors tell is just above and beyond to drive home the core, meaning of what's going on in the book. So, yes, you can get the book and take the test and get the certification, but you're still missing out on that extra that you get from showing up.
Well, and the book is great for if you're good at retaining knowledge. Yes. Right. If you can ingest and retain and then put it back out onto a test, great for that. Yep. Well, what I felt like the course was, because the course started with the books. Here is the training or the resources that you need, all of the documentation you need, the books. Now let's spend 4.5 days on helping you understand, not just retain knowledge, but actually understand what this is talking about. The whys, the hows, the whens, all of this, so that let's take what's on the page, but also make it in a way that you can relate with. Because honestly, Nick, it's not when the classes I sat in on, to your point, we're not teaching to the test. It's like we honestly want to see you succeed. And so I'm not going to just make sure you pass this test, because if you pass the test but you don't succeed, there's no value in that. Right. But we want to make sure, because we're all working in the same industry, different parts of the same industry, different markets largely. But what's good for one market's good for all of them. So if we're raising the professionalism standard for our industry, well, guess what? Hello, we get to live we get to work in a more professional profession.
Absolutely.
Or something like that. But it's good for everybody. And I think what you guys are trying to do with that is, so a new business typically lasts 3 to 5 years or somewhere in that. You guys are really trying to break that, right? Break that statistic to say, hey, we want to arm you with the knowledge. Because I think that 3 to 5 years is someone that's really great at building fence. Just they're on their game. They know exactly how to build the fence the correct way. And then they go into business and they're trying to figure out sales. They're trying to figure out business management. They're trying to figure out procurement. They're trying to figure out logistics, all of this. And they just get so far over their head that they end up leaving, right? They, for whatever reason, one reason or another, the business does not succeed. The problem though, Nick, is what I see is they don't go back to the industry. They don't go somewhere else within the industry to a different company. They leave the industry as a whole. Right. Because they just, and maybe it's pride, maybe it's ego. It's just like, I can't go back because I went this direction and then now I'm going to go into some sort of related trade. It seems like you guys are trying to break that by saying, okay, stop. We will teach you. We will help you understand we'll arm you with the tools you need to run a successful business to give you a better shot. Maybe let's try to take that 3 to 5 years and stretch it to 10 years. Right? Yeah. If we can stretch that, and we can make you, successful in that period of time, well, I've got to think that makes you gives you a higher chance of becoming successful long term.
Sure. So that's absolutely what we're trying to do. So we've got business expansion modules that we're working on and have put together. We're introducing the career pathways, and the business expansion is not just meaning hiring more people and doing more work. It may just be doing what you're already doing better and more efficiently. Mm-hmm. That's expanding your business, because now all of a sudden, if it takes you, 3 days to do a job that used to take you 4, well, you do a couple of those and all of a sudden you can do an extra job. So you're expanding your business without hiring anybody. Or if you're in a position where, okay, Now, do you need to hire more internal people, or are you going to bring in subcontractors? How are you going to run that? What is it? What is your model going to be? And then on the career pathway side, the AFA wants to be a partner to the industry. That's what we're here for. So we've come up with these career pathways to show somebody, no matter where you're at in your career, whether you just started or whether you've been in the industry 10 years and you're a field foreman and you're trying to decide, you're getting older or your body's breaking down or you don't want to be in the field all the time anymore. What's the next step? So we've got these career pathways to kind of show you, okay, here's the education that we have. Here's the level that you're on. Here's the level that you want to get to. Here's what we can do to help you get to whatever that next level is. And so that's what 2025 is all going to be about, the career pathways and how education and certification can help you get to where you want to go, whether that means new position for you personally, new section for your company. If you're a residential company and you're thinking about getting into commercial, or if you're a commercial company and you're thinking about getting into government work and prevailing wage and Davis-Bacon and all that, we've got stuff that can help you with all that and kind of help explain you and get your feet wet. Or if you're thinking about getting into automation, okay, you don't do automation right now, you sub it all out. Well, if you're thinking of bringing that in-house, what do you need? Here's some of the tools that you need. Are you gonna hire somebody brand new and then train them, or are you going to try to hire your subcontractor and bring them in? Or, what are things you need to look at? Supply chain management, where are you going to get the stuff? Who's going to be your support system? All of those things are things that, don't take a ton, but you have to ask the right questions and get some answers before you dive into them. And we're trying to ease some of that pain.